How's it going out there, folks? Welcome back here to a Monday. It is the Earthmaster out here, about 10:22 a.m. Monday morning. That's California time. March 10th, 2025 is the date. Latest activity here on the Earthquake 3D globe shows a 3.3 earthquake. That earthquake striking, it's over here in the green flag across South America along the Peru-Chile Trench. One of the latest quakes there on the globe. Going to cover Southern California here first. Make sure I got all my notifications off. The microphone is on, and we are good to go. A little bit of movement happening overnight and this morning still in the Southern California area, Malibu, and just north here of Los Angeles, where that three-pointer struck here, just over a week or so ago. I have to pull up the last 30 days to show you guys this earthquake in this region. Outside of Universal City, just a mile southeast of North Hollywood for that 3.8 on a previously, they thought it was a fault system out here. It's still listed as a potential fault, if I recall. I have to get rid of some of those earthquakes real quick and see if we can get this to zoom in. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Little tricky. But there's a fault system there. They weren't sure if it was a fault, unnamed possible fault in North Hollywood listed there on the map. But that's, probably a confirmed fault system. Either way, 3.8 earthquake struck there on the 2nd of this month, followed up by numerous small aftershocks in the 1 range. That's where a 1.6 is happening right now, within the last hour. Also, some movement happening over here across the Malibu area here recently in the last 7 days. It looks like the majority of these are within the 24-hour time period. 16 earthquakes around Malibu, with so far the main shake being a 4.1. But of course, as always, these could be foreshocks. And I believe all the activity we've been seeing out here recently across the plate boundary in numerous fault systems that have really been quiet here throughout the years is just a sign of the compression taking place out here against the San Andreas Fault. This thing is about as wound tight as you can get, and eventually it's going to have to get some major release in the strain that's been building up out here in 300 years for the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault. Even further up north, we're getting really close here to the time period where we should be seeing some larger earthquake activity. So all these quakes out here happening last year and recently are just a sign of, I believe, things getting close to seeing some bigger activity. So 4.1 back yesterday, number of earthquakes, including a 3.3 earthquake that was felt this morning in Malibu about 2:23 in the morning. A couple other smaller quakes in there as well. Just the latest in the series of earthquakes out here. I want to show you guys, though, the map that I pulled up here. This is a historical model of 4.0 and above. I keep mentioning that, right, in my update videos, that there's been more 4-pointers last year during that, elevated sequence of events. It wasn't just, say for example, a bunch of 4s following a big earthquake in Ridgecrest. That's not about that. It's about numerous 4s all over the place, indicating the increasing strain out here along the west coast. So there was more 4-pointers. In fact, I counted them all, 27 of them last year. That's way above what we would normally see on any given year. So we, that's more earthquakes for 4.0 and above outside of a main sequence earthquake. Like for an example, 7.1 in Ridgecrest with numerous 4 aftershocks. It's not about that. It's about 4s all over the place happening out here. Then at any time since the mid 80s. So that in itself tells us something. There are numerous 4s out here in various locations, not just Malibu. It's over here. It's on the Puente Hills Thrust Fault. It's on many fault systems out here that have been relatively quiet, indicating maybe a breaking point out here for something larger about ready to take place. And it's started kicking up again here recently, with the earthquake there north around Hollywood, Malibu kicking back up. Got some earthquake activity here outside of Bakersfield again near Bodfish. So things are, they're amplifying out here. Not to mention that swarm we've had here a couple weeks back on the San Andreas Fault. That was specifically right on it. And it's been a while since I've seen anything in there. If you look in the last 30 days, this section right here, there's a swarm that happened right in this area San Bernardino area. A bunch of earthquakes happening, and they weren't just all microquakes. We had a number of threes in there as well. So things have been elevated out here, to say the least, across Southern California and up around the Bay Area as well. Well, you know what, including Northern California. So the entire plate boundary out here and various other fault systems are, man, I think they're starting to show some signs out here of a breaking point. So just be on guard, be prepared. As many folks on here say and hear, you got to be prepared, not scared, right? Obviously, a big earthquake will strike here in the future, but no one knows exactly when it's going to happen. I just put together these signs out here of elevated fours, increasing earthquakes, and various swarms around the region as a potential, elevated possibility of seeing some larger earthquake activity out here soon. Dr. Lucy Jones, she is the face of the earthquake community, so to speak. When there's an earthquake down in Southern California, she's the first to pop up on the TV screen and gets bombarded with questions. Last year, during all those fours out here, the news anchor asked her, is it possible here with all these fours out here recently that these little earthquakes are, pushing off the big one, as to not happening so soon, pretty much putting it on the back burner. Does it release strain out here? And her face, she was just like shaking her head, and I could see it. I could see the seriousness that she has. I think she knows that there's something probably bigger about ready to happen out here as well. But she mentioned on TV for all the world to see that these four-pointers and various other swarms out here do not do anything to relieve the strain out here. That does not push off the big one. That does not remove that possibility of a big one. And in fact, she mentioned if there's more fours out here, the chances of a bigger earthquake increase dramatically. As I've said all along out here throughout all of my videos, these earthquakes are not relieving strain out here across the Malibu. Earthquake activity along the San Andreas Fault, little earthquake swarms and stuff like that, are not relieving strain. If anything, it's painting a bigger possibility of seeing a bigger earthquake out here. That's something we got to take into consideration here, that it's coming. The question is when, and are you prepared? There's so much one needs to do to make sure they're prepared. You got to have lots of water. I always keep cases of water on hand anyway. We pretty big water drinkers, and the kids love water as well. That's a big thing. Generator, if you have it, it's helpful. And, of course, food, totes of food, non-perishable type foods, obviously. And, plenty of fuel as well. I always make sure my vehicle's got plenty of fuel. But then again, if there's a big earthquake out there, the road network may be down. But there's many things one can do to be prepared out here for some big earthquake activity. And, of course, the early alert shake system out there that's sent out as an earthquake happens, it gives people time to prepare. A couple of people here that felt that earthquake here in Malibu yesterday mentioned that the early alert notification system came in as the earthquake was happening. But that, again, that's in proximity. If you're in the Malibu area and you got an earthquake happening, more than likely it's going to come in at the same time as an earthquake is happening. Up here in Northern California, when we had that 7-pointer outside of Eureka last December, it gave me a 20-second notification here outside of Chico before I started to feel the rolling waves from that big earthquake. Yeah, I felt it pretty good. That's one of the more stronger earthquakes I've felt in quite a while. So it's a good thing to have, the early alert shake app. And it'll wake you up at 2 or 3 in the morning as well if there's an earthquake that's going to be felt in the region. All right, so just keep an eye here on Southern California. I am leaving up my earthquake watch. I've kept it up here for a little while. I think, it goes through some periods of uptick and then quiet periods here. But when the uptick happens, it seems to be happening on a broader scale, and the multitude of quakes increase compared to, on your average given day number of earthquakes. So keep an eye on Southern California. Got one earthquake down here outside of Santa Monica. Bay Area up here, a little bit of earthquake activity as well on the San Andreas Fault outside of the San Francisco Zoo. when things start moving, they start moving. 2.5, 128 this morning. Sometime later, a little bit of earthquake activity up here in the same region, about an hour. No, that was just a short time later for 1.5. A few hours later, 1.7. So things are, they're starting to move out here. Many areas that have not had any earthquake activity in quite a while are starting to see elevated movement. Keep an eye on the San Andreas Fault. Northern California, one earthquake outside of Sacramento, outside of Woodland. That's a little odd from yesterday, 2.4. That's, let me zoom in here, see what we got besides a bunch of fields. A lot of times there's natural gas withdrawal. It looks like there's some type of pumping operation down here, maybe some tanks. I don't know for certain, but a lot of times during the natural gas withdrawal and whatnot, you get some of these earthquakes that are happening, but that's a little odd earthquake. Up here in the Clear Lake area, that's just geothermal operations there. There's numerous plants out there that it induces earthquakes. That's a whole thing. These geothermal plants there cause earthquakes. Right now, just some small ones, but they can get rather big sometimes, up in the 4 range. Let's see, Washington up here, a couple 1s, some 2s. That's another area that's been active, right? Up around the Puget Sound region, a lot of earthquake activity here in terms of more larger magnitudes, and it's similar to Southern California. It's not just one area. Say if it's on the Seattle fault and not including all these other regions, but it's as a whole elevated activity out there, even up into Vancouver. So it's not just one confined area. Similar to Southern California, it's not just one confined area around Los Angeles. It's the entire West Coast out here. Everywhere but seems like Oregon right now. It's weird. Everywhere but Oregon is experiencing earthquakes. And, of course, the Cascadia subduction zone sits here. And that's another one we have to worry about as far as big earthquake activity. And it can't be scared, right? Got to be prepared up along the Oregon coastline here. It's definitely an interesting situation if that thing does decide to go. I was up here a year or so back. I try to get up along the coast there in the summertime because it's absolutely beautiful. I love the Oregon coastline. Take Highway, is it 1 or 101 up northward through Coos Bay and Gold Beach. Beautiful, absolutely stunning scenery out here. I love it. Been going up there since I was a kid. But little one, if you didn't know, and a lot of people, unfortunately, are not aware of what sleeps offshore here. They just see the ocean, but underneath that ocean, there's the Cascadia subduction zone that's capable of at least a 9.0. The last one was back in 1700. So 325 years of built-up strain. And it could happen any day. We could have just, a partial rupture down south here, or the whole thing could go. But what I found out was a lot of people were unaware of this. When I was staying at a couple nice motels up there, I was asking the hotel clerks there if, about their earthquake knowledge and whatnot, and they're like, "What, the San Andreas Fault? Yeah, isn't that where a big one's going to happen?" And that's all in their mind. It's like it's programmed into their mind that that's where the big one's going to happen, the San Andreas Fault. And that's right. There will be a big one, but right in their backyard here, you got the Cascadia subduction zone, and that is way, way more dangerous in terms of producing a big earthquake and a subsequent tsunami. So it's been quiet. Look at that. It's awfully quiet out here, while other areas south and north are super active. Interesting. All right, so we continue to watch this. As far as current Seattle area earthquake activity goes, a couple smaller ones around the region today. Nothing being felt right now. Yellowstone National Park, nothing showing up here, but let's see, did they add those earthquakes from did they add those earthquakes in the Yellowstone area? So on the 8th, a couple small earthquakes over here. Yeah, it looks like they may have. So these are from Saturday. A couple smaller earthquakes. Let me show you guys the map here, Yellowstone Seismograph Station map. That's that was that big earthquake from yesterday showing up there north of Iceland. Big old 6.5 earthquake. I'm thinking that was bigger, just due to the reading that I'm seeing there on the graph and the P waves that were picked up while it was happening across various stations there. 3.2 up in Alaska right now, but yeah, that's that reading, 6-pointer up above Iceland on the graph right here. Maybe. Hello. Uh-oh. Still live. Something froze up here. Seems like whenever I'm doing my update video, things start to get a little crazy. There's a 6-pointer. Couple of smaller earthquakes here this morning and overnight. Looks like very small microquakes. I don't even know if USGS is reporting any of those. Maybe I got too many windows open. You think that could be it? Oh man, I don't know though. It could be. What's going on here? Or maybe someone's trying to shut me down right now. It does happen on occasion. We'll see if this goes through or not. Okay, it looks like it went through. But whenever I'm doing my update videos, folks, my regular viewers know that things kind of go haywire here through no fault of my own. Sometimes it's my fault, but most of the time it's some outside interference, I believe. All right, Texas oil fields still getting hit, even south of San Antonio out here in the oil fields. A little bit of earthquake activity. New Madrid seismic zone, pretty quiet. Taking a look at the global view, of course, the largest earthquake in the last 24 hours is going to be that 6.5 up outside of Greenland, north of Iceland. That's the fourth largest earthquake so far this year. 4.9, let's see, what do we got today so far? Today, a 4.7 outside of the Macquarie Island region, way down south. That looks like a little bit of activity stirring up out there. That may put New Zealand right back in the firing range for earthquake activity. Looks like that's already taken place. Some older movement down south. New Zealand, a little bit more recent earthquake activity here, 3.2. That's been another area of elevated earthquake movement as well. Quite a few 4s out there, even 5 or so off across the plate boundary there, South Island. Japan, quiet right now. Only a couple smaller quakes. The Nankai Trough area here has been it's been building up quite a strain event recently down south, and a lot of movement being applied to that area recently here as well. There's all that earthquake activity from the last couple days. Bunch of 5s out there, even upper 5s. So Nankai Trough zone right here is a major subduction zone. You can see it more visual here on the oceanic crust map. That's a dandy of a subduction zone, and that's capable of producing some big earthquakes on regular occasions. Look at New Zealand down here. This is just what the USGS is reporting. There's a lot more than this, but that's way elevated compared to your typical daily count for earthquakes across New Zealand. It's way amplified recently. Let's see here. One more look at the earthquake 3D globe. Santorini area, nothing major going on there. Still some periodic earthquake activity. Nothing has changed there. Typical movement out here across the Indonesia Islands area. That happens on any given day. So we'll take a look a little bit later, see what happens. But for now, let's go check out space weather, see what's going on out there on the sun. Pretty quiet. B. There's your B 8.1 solar flare level, anyway, the X-ray flare. That's pretty quiet, folks. That's something that you see almost every day in the solar minimum. Really nothing here in the last 3 days of any significant flaring. Not really expecting much either here. Quick glance at the UV filter of the sun. Goodness. All right. Uh-oh. Something going on, I'm telling you. Something in the air. Pretty quiet out there across the Earth-facing side. A number of regions out there on the eastern limb. Check out the magnetogram image here. See what we got. Really not all impressed with this region out here on the eastern limb. It's barely showing. There it is. Not as awesome as I thought it would be when we were looking at the far side image, but there's really nothing of any interest here. This sunspot looks like it's growing a little bit. Notice a little bit of complexity here. Interesting colors in close proximity of that central magnetic field. That's going to be 4919. And if you notice here, last night it wasn't all that fancy looking, but today's image it shows a little bit more complexity, growth within that sunspot core. So we'll watch that, see if that doesn't produce anything here soon, as far as maybe some M-flare activity, but really not expecting much out here. No major auroras in the forecast. A couple nights here we've had some elevated auroras, but nothing big. That's just due to some high-speed solar wind stream. Far as any close approach asteroids here, man, all millions of miles away. Nothing super close. That's good. Don't want anything too close there. Severe weather outlook today for Florida, it looks like. Maybe a marginal risk for some severe weather due to a 2% chance for some tornado and a little bit of wind out there. Nothing for hail, but I know we got a little bit more serious weather event coming up this coming weekend there for the Midwest area, right about there. That could stir up some severe weather, although it's looking a little bit less than what had been forecasted, but we'll have to see how this plays out. Either way, it's going to be a massive low pressure system tapping into some warmer, moist air. That low pressure is actually going to be the one responsible for bringing us here quite a bit of rain here in Northern California Wednesday night into Thursday. That low pressure system there will move east, tap into this moisture, and of course, I'm going to get a lot of rain. The severe weather aspect of things, we'll have to watch that as we get a little bit closer, but it does look like storm after storm is coming into the area. Let's see here. Sunday, Monday. Yeah, we'll have to see how that plays out. Anyway, folks, a lot of roller coaster type patterns here on the map. Very typical for springtime. And of course, when that happens, you get the severe weather as well. So just got to be prepared out here during these events. Yeah, something's going on with that. It could be the hundreds of windows I have open here, but that's all right. We'll fix it. I got to do a reset here on the computer here. Anyway, update some things, some drivers and whatnot. It wants me to restart my computer here so I can get some updates in here. But anyway, we'll do that a little bit later, maybe a little bit later on this afternoon. But for the meantime, have yourself a good Monday. And a quick glance at the seismograph stations. Pretty quiet. Nothing major going on here right now. But, it's been elevated out here across California and pretty much across a good portion of certain plates out here. So just be on guard. We'll catch you guys out here a little bit later on. Have a good day.